This is the final part of the ultimate Dragon Ball FighterZ dramatic finish tier list. We'll be covering the last 10 dramatic finishes in Dragon Ball FighterZ, so I'd recommend seeing the first part before you see this one, or you could just watch it backwards. You know, you do whatever makes you happy. I was also shocked at the quality of these last 10 because I thought we did some of the best ones already, but I was definitely wrong. So we should probably stop fooling around and get into it, but I do want to address a common question I got a couple times regarding the first part, so if you just want to get into the finishes, here's the timestamp for you to go do so, and I hope you enjoy the main event. But as for the rest of us, let's get into the explanation. Alright, let's very quickly address the confusion some people had and pointed out to me in the comments and in the Discord. And that was, why was Broly so low on the list when it was accurate to the source material, like the ones I put higher on the list, like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan versus Cell and Super Saiyan Goku versus Frieza. What I'm understanding is some people think that I prefer canon finishes over non-canon ones, and if I worded my sentences that way in part 1, I apologize, but that isn't what I meant at all. The reason these two are so high is not just because they are accurate to canon. Sure, it's a plus for me when they actually get a scene from the shows or movies and adapt it, keyword well, but it doesn't automatically make it high tier or deserving of a lot of points. I rate all of these finishes, canon or not, in the context of how the player sees and understands it, regardless of them knowing every detail about the franchise. For example, Super Saiyan Goku beating Frieza. You can immediately tell without any outside information that Goku beats Frieza and doesn't want to fight anymore. Then you hear Frieza's anger building, which causes him to lash out and try to kill Goku while his back is turned. But Goku quickly notices and chastises Frieza for trying to pull a cheap trick even after he chose to spare him. And then you could very clearly see the sorrow and hesitation from Goku. He didn't want to kill Frieza, but he had no choice. That is an amazing example of a dramatic finish, regardless if it ever happened before. It was created creatively, it was made beautifully, and it makes sense. You understood the characters, and in this case I'll give it props because it is adapted well. And when I say adapted well, I'm not just talking about the great animation, voice acting, and creative angles that it uses. I'm talking about how it adapts the original scene. It doesn't have to be a perfect one-to-one, but the general consensus should be if it's cool or adds context in the OG scene, you should keep it in the dramatic finish. Then with all of that being said now, you would be quite foolish to still think this Broly vs Goku finish is above a C tier. Don't get me wrong, I love Broly as much as the next guy, but once again, not only is it very short, but is also lacking in almost every department compared to the higher ones. Some of you will say, well, it's accurate to what actually happened in the movie. And I'll be real, the movie version was 100 times better. And this is the worst part, it's not even being used at its full potential. Let me explain. Here's the finish in FighterZ. Alright, he just looks at him, okay, and he gets one-shotted. Alright, nice. And here's my improved version of the finish, using a little more of the original source material and with the original voice acting by me. So obviously it's gonna start off with Broly getting kicked back because he's the one that lost. He's gonna be like, "Wait, this is gonna be your final hour, Kakarot." And then he screams like, because Vegeta needs to give him his power. He's the only one not giving him his power. And then Vegeta could be like, "Fine, Kakarot, but don't think this changes anything." And then he gives him his power, and then he goes, and then he falls over. Yeah, so he falls over, and then he goes, bleh. And then he shows all the other characters. He shows Piccolo right here. He falls over after giving the energy. Trunks and Gohan. So it could be in order. It'd be like Vegeta falls, and then Piccolo, and then Trunks, and then Gohan. And they all give him his power, and they all go to Goku, so it's like all connecting. And then Broly's like, "What?" And then he rushes over to Goku because he's trying to punch him. He's like, "I'm not gonna let you win," right? And then he's about to punch him. He's like, "Rah!" lets out a big grunt, and then he goes to punch him super hard, but then, like in the actual dramatic finish, he just scrapes along the arm, and then that'd be super cool, and then he could actually use all the energy. You could see it all around him, and then he uses all that energy to punch him in his blocky abs, and then like this, boom, and then he uses all that green energy that he gathered from his friends, and then it launches him up, and he's like, no, what, impossible, and then he explodes and dies. But it doesn't end there. Okay, it doesn't end there. It's right when he explodes, it can launch Goku back in a giant, like, bright light. He could be like, ah, as he gets launched. And then it's like, dramatic finish. Like, right there, it could say, dramatic finish as he explodes. And tell me that's not already 50,000 times better than what we got in the finish. Now, hopefully that was able to clear up the air a little bit, and we can see why Broly finish ended up where it was, and how it could have been improved upon. And again, that placement isn't horrible. There are just way better ones on the list, including the ones we have for you today. So without any further distractions, let's get into the final 10 dramatic finishes.
Pathetic. I'm the one to avenge them. Me. I'm going to defeat you. This will change everything.
Like I said in the beginning of the video, we have some of the best finishes to see today, and this one was no exception. A what if situation where Bardock was able to fight back against Frieza, successfully turn into a Super Saiyan, and avenge all of his people is a phenomenal idea. We get to see more emotions from the both of them this time around, and some amazing imagery to go along with it. We even got some more album covers to add to our collection, which is always a plus in my book. Bardock showed off his character like no other finish has done before. His voice perfectly matches what he's saying, both with his words and physically what he does, and you can't help but love him for that. Definitely off to a great start, and we love to see Bardock get this win, so I'll give it a strong spot in the top of A tier. This next one might not be as lucky though.
What? You pathetic little runt.
Kefla! Win!
Me? You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Poor Yamcha. The strongest Z fighter that keeps getting discriminated on. Shame on the people who keep disrespecting our GOAT. He can truly never live down that one single L he took. It's just too iconic, sadly. Okay, but actually being honest here, not even the pure iconicness can save this finish. Just by watching it, you know they aren't trying anything new or creative. They want to get to the end ASAP so we can see that pose that we all know about. There's quite literally nothing else to say because you see that pose more than the actual characters, which is actually kind of funny. I'm not 100% sure, but if I had to put my money on it, I'd say this is the quickest finish out of all of them. And one of the most boring ones as well. Nothing unique or cool happens, and if you take out the real world popularity that pose has, this finish would have probably not even been in the game, so D for disrespecting Yamcha the GOAT. And let's move on to the next one.
I'll put you out in your misery.
Gohan!
Is that all you got? Don't give up now!
Here's one last DBZ Broly finish, and I have to say I really enjoyed this one. It's not too deep of a finish, but I really think it works best this way. It gave a better display of how powerful Broly truly is and how much force is needed to stop him. Like, look at Broly's face after he's been knocked back. Usually get like a shocked or angry look on their face, but Broly knows he has this win in the bag. Unfortunately for him, he didn't account for the rest of the bloodline to show up and end his life with a very wholesome family Kamehameha. Yes, wholesome, but the way they killed him was straight up brutal. Actually crazy that they did him like that. Although Broly has only like 2 lines, it's still a better example of his personality and power than what we got last time. It's pretty good overall finish with the improved Broly stuff and wholesome moments, so I'll give it an A tier right behind Bardock. Alright, next up.
You're done. You're finished. How dare you? How dare you? You and this planet are as good as space dust! Kaioken times 4! No, he's beating me! Finish! Goku! Win!
Now this one took me a pretty long time to decide what spot it'll go in. I usually take like 30 minutes to watch one finish and then have a pretty good feeling on where I'm gonna rank them, but I've been sat here for the past hour and I'm still a bit on the fence about it. Don't get me wrong, the scene is extremely iconic and it looks amazing. All the energy flashing and shooting out is a treat to look at, and it converts the actual scene from the show into a finish very nicely. The thing that holds this finish back for me is that it's just too bland in a couple of aspects. Firstly, Vegeta does the majority of talking in this finish, and they're kind of dull sentences that any villain could potentially say. Couple that with the low volume and energy from him, and it gets kinda hard to fully get into. Take the first couple of words for example. If you read this, you'd be like, oh, he's yelling at Kakarot and getting progressively angrier and angrier. But when you hear it in game, it sounds kinda different. It sounds like he's whispering to himself kind of. Then you keep that same low tone throughout the entire thing, and that just breaks the immersion for me. And Goku doesn't add much to the conversation either, but that's probably because he was locked in. Still, I would say I could switch back and forth between top of B and top of C, so let me know where you would place it. Because like I said, it's very iconic and it's a good scene, but it's kind of like surface level, what you see is what you get. So I'm gonna go with my gut feeling and I'm gonna put it top of B, so that's where it's going. And let's get to the next one.
Of course you lost. I'm a Super Saiyan with the power of a Super Saiyan God.
Gogeta! Win!
Oh my goodness. I think I felt that shock through my own TV. First thing I want to point out is how great of a job they did showing the immense power these two have. You literally don't need a single word to understand that they actually broke reality. The clash of beams even managed to push the sun, which can't possibly be good for Earth, but they sure did it. I also like the animation they had when they were charging their powerful Kamehamehamamas. Another nice detail to add is that either Gogeta can win this fight. Unfortunately, as it stands, the only difference between the two finishes is the final pose. I would have loved to see a different animation style, fighting style, or even a unique beam attack, but not this time. Regardless, it's still a powerful dramatic finish that did all of their storytelling through their body movements and animation. Before I place it on the list, I will have to move some finishes around, since the more we have to compare, the higher the standards for each tier will be, so I'll be right back. So as you can see, I dropped Trunks down to B tier, Goku and Vegeta one I placed lower because of how it stacks against the rest of B tier, And with that same logic, I've bumped down both Yamcha finishes to C and then Nappa's to D. One is just funnier than the other, so it'll rank a little bit higher. I'll now place the Gogeta finishes at the top of B tier. Alright, next.
Now! Everyone! I need you all to lend me your energy! I want you to take this! You're really good. See ya! I hope you're reborn as someone good this time. Goku! Win!
I'll summarize this finish in one sentence. Kid Buu gets obliterated by a spirit bomb while Goku talks to himself. Well, it's a little more than that, but it's pretty much what I said, with some nice looking visuals and scenery to go along with it. I don't really blame this finish for the lack of conversation, because Kid Buu literally doesn't talk. Just an illiterate, wild, powerful piece of bubblegum. For what it is though, it's a nice enough aesthetically pleasing finish to escape the depths of the lower ranks. I prefer this Spirit Bomb finish over Frieza's, because at least this one has a little more talking and nice effects and scenery. I also enjoyed the little speech Goku had to say, so I'll put it in C tier. A nice little finish to enjoy. But after this finish, we start to really rank up the quality, so get ready.
Gogeta! Win!
Before anything is said, I want to mention again that we don't rate the finish only off how accurate it is. These finishes are less based off the references or scene of origin, but of the in-game information. We rank it on how the player sees and understands it in-game first. Outside stuff will not affect too much of the ranking. That being said, this finish is really great. They are doing an incredible job with these silent storytelling Gogeta finishes. He hasn't even said a full sentence and you know exactly what he is feeling and thinking about. The animation is great as usual, and I'll give special props to the Soul Punisher attack looking incredible. I also love how Gogeta powers down from a Super Saiyan Blue to just a Super Saiyan. That's how it is in the movie. Yes, I know that's how it is in the movie, but just judging it off the in-game finish, it's hilarious to see. There will still be a final organization of all the finishes at the end, so it might go up or down or stay in the exact same spot. But as of right now, it's going in A tier. It's a truly beautiful finish regardless if you've seen the movie of origin or not. And now, let's get into the last three.
What? I'm not done yet! Kiss your ass goodbye!
Guess that's the best I can do right now. Goku! Win!
Hits the coldest pose after dodging a beam attack. Scares his opponent by looking at him. Continues to block and dodge every attack like it's nothing. Kefla is having an existential crisis and a panic attack at the same time. Slides down a freaking beam with his own beam. Eliminates Kefla, which is always a plus. Does all of that without saying a word until the end. Refuses to elaborate, no context needed. It used every second it had, showing the characters, the situation they were in, and all their powers and abilities. Not a frame was wasted, showing how sick nasty Goku UI is, in a fast-paced, action-packed manner. S tier! And these two finishes won't be any different. Now let's quickly move on to the next two.
I've had enough!
Frieza! Don't order me around!
This is trust! The power of Universe 7?
Man, you're tough, Jiren. See you around.
Very well. But I will win next time we meet, Goku.
Goku! Win!
Another finish where not a single second is wasted. A quick action-packed battle starring two enemies turned teammates to take on a strong opponent. Just the concept alone is so cool, and how they executed it was just amazing. You can clearly see their past from how they work together. It manages to be both funny and intense at the same time, which is so good. Everything from the voice acting to the scenery change from the moon to the earth was so it was delicious. I also love the scenes where the yellow and the purple powers clashed but also started working together. Man, it's just so good. And Jiren learned a valuable lesson as well. Never underestimate the power of friendship. Yippee! S tier. And on to the very last, but not at all least, dramatic finish.
Broly. Send Broly! Send Broly back to the planet in Dragon Ball!
Dramatic finish! Gogeta! Win!
Holy, what did we just witness? You know what, I'll tell you what we witnessed. We witnessed greatness. When I first saw this, I didn't even believe I was still in the game. I thought I switched to a movie. This entire finish is just one cool, crazy fight scene. I shouldn't even say fight scene because it was a straight up execution. Broly couldn't even breathe when Gogeta was hitting him with the 1-2 spinning kick. It was insane. He even had the gall to hit the Gangnam Style while he was publicly humiliating the guy. And if Chilai didn't save him with the Dragon Balls, Broly would have been 6 feet under. This is also the only finish in the game where the Dragon Balls were being used, so that's obviously worth something. This also might be the coolest looking one when you consider all the lighting and different camera angles it puts you through, and of course the animation and other visuals were top notch, as usual. This finish also had me twisting and turning, looking around and finding all kinds of little secrets and clever things. Like, look at these pictures I found. He's being a little silly guy. I know this is from the movie, but how they remade it literally made me feel like I just switched to watching that film. Then that pose he hits at the end with that light flying in the back, so good. Needless to say, it's gonna be S tier, and a great way to wrap up these phenomenal finishes. But now, time for the final official ranking and seeing which one is the worst and best finish of this amazing game. Alright, let's start off with the absolute worst finish in the game. Oh, and the reason there's no F tier in this list is because I believe no finish is truly horrible. But there has to be a loser in this tier list. So, the worst finish is Goku versus DBFZ, bro. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Yamcha dying. A couple things that could be said about this finish are, actually, let me rephrase that. The only things that could be said about this finish is that it's so boring, very short, and not very pleasant to look at. Like, we're in the rocky fields with the Green Goblin looking dude and a bald mustache man. E tier. But now let's quickly go to the opposite and go on to the top 5 best dramatic finishes. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 5 is Super Saiyan Goku vs Frieza. At number 4, Frieza and Goku teaming up against Jiren. Number 3. Ultra Instinct Goku versus Kefla. And the title of the dramatic finish goes to Trunks beating Zamasu! Yay!
Boo! Don't like it.
Now, hold on, let me explain real quick. These two are the best finishes in the game, but they're pretty different from one another. For example, the Trunks one. Trunks has way more style, way more drama, and he actually finishes off Zamasu. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. But with Broly, there's less of a clear-cut story and more of an intense climactic battle, which is insanely cool to watch. Like, I'm not discrediting it at all, but in this case, we're looking for the drama in the dramatic finish and more of a clear-cut storyline, and it barely out-edges Gogeta. But if it was in any other context, like particles or effects or anything, then Gogeta would have had it in the bag, because they use the Dragon Balls. It's the Gangnam style. Like, there's so much power flowing. Like, it's a climactic battle, don't get me wrong, but it's not the drama that we're looking for, nor is it as thematically interesting or as stylish as the Trunks finish. And it was a very well deserved win. It was a close one, but this is the list. It's done. Well, this is the end. I'm so thankful for the people who've watched this far, and I'm even more thankful for the people that watched the last video and this one as well. I cannot express how happy I am for the support on the last video. I thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys soon. Till then, see ya.